was so good, by the way.
Thanks.
Should be a motivational speaker or something.
That's mad. See, that involves the speaking in public that I'm working through. But maybe one of these days, because I feel like I've got gems. I just look at things through a very I feel like in life there are fundamentals, right? And if everything goes back down to a core and fundamental that you truly believe, then it's actually a lot more simple than you feel it is. And if it's complicated and it feels like it's hard, then it probably means that you've added other things onto it that you don't actually need. And so that's just how I look at most things. Helps with anxiety too, because if you're feeling a lot of feelings, then you can just break it down and be like, okay, but what is the core feeling? And then you notice that all of the other things are just extras.
Right.
For me, at least. But,
that makes a lot of sense there. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, my alarm just went off. Just maybe a random alarm, 10 to 2. It's just, okay, cool. My next one is 6:30. That's not going to happen again. Sorry about that.
Sorry. All right. Let me just introduce the podcast. Okay. I always laugh at this bit. I think it's weird. Someone watching me. Okay.
No one's watching. It's just me and you for now.
Okay. Hi guys, welcome back to the How Great Is That Art podcast, the most wholesome podcast in the Northwest. More wholesome than your favorite American family movie starring a dog that can talk, like Kamali and Me. Can't think of any others. I was gonna say Stuart Little, but that's a rat. So yeah. Anyway, he is. Anyway, today we're gonna be talking about poetry, how to perform poetry, how to write poetry, and I had to bring on the best poet I know. Poetress. Sorry, poetress.
No, I go by poet. I've actually never even heard poetress before.
It's because you had it in your Instagram, so I was like,
oh, poetess. Okay.
Oh, poetess. I wrote poetess.
Yeah.
Poetess. Okay. Yeah, I'm joined here with Rihanna. Also goes as Reya Saint. Which one do you prefer, Rihanna or?
For the purposes of poetry, Reya Saint.
Okay, I'll call you Reya Saint.
You aren't meant to know my name's Rihanna.
Oh, Reya Saint. It's not Rihanna. Forget that. Who's Rihanna?
I don't even know. In fact, I think I've heard of her. Maybe she's pregnant right now. It's not me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not Rihanna. It's not that Rihanna. It's yeah. But yeah, how are you today, Reya?
I'm really good, thank you. I'm feeling very nice. Happy to be here. Grateful that you've even asked me on. So thank you very much, Joshua. My favorite artist.
Oh,
so
thanks.
Just to put that out there, I'm a very big fan of yours. So yeah, I'm good. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling all right. Yeah, I'm feeling good. Excited for this conversation because I delved a little bit into poetry when I was younger. That was I was actually going to be a poet when I was younger. It was like poet, then an author, and then I realized writing books takes too long. So, and I realized I could draw. So I was like, let me just be an artist. So, yeah.
That's interesting. Is it because art is more satisfying to create because you can kind of create it automatically and you get your creative fix?
Yeah. I still write poetry from time to time, but not to perform. I just write it in my notes and stuff when I get an idea in my head. But I guess with art, it's just I like the aspect of visual, something visual that I can just put on a page and people can be like, whoa, or it makes people think. Just one picture can do that. It can it's a simplified version of poetry. It's just in visual form.
No, I love that. I really, really do. A picture has 1,000 words.
Exactly.
It's very true. I think that's something I really love as well. And I'm so sad that I don't know how to draw, because I feel like it's a bit of like I don't know. Oh, it's just very frustrating because I have things that I want to draw, but then I just, my hand doesn't let them come out.
Yeah, I think it's just the learning, because I think you're already an artist because you have the artist like mindset. So I think it's just like learning how to actually draw, and then you can put two and two together and then just do it. Because there's people that can draw, right? And then there's artists. So I think when an artist learns how to draw, that's when like you get like art.
You think I can learn?
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Okay. Coming from you, I might give it a go. I actually bought a textbook and I tried to draw some things and they just look so bad. In fact, can I show you and
yes,
ask you
what
you think they are? It's very okay. It's really, really faint. Can you even see it? What's that?
It's either, I feel like it could be three things. I feel like it's either one, the back of someone's head, two, a palm tree, or three, like a spider or something.
It was some leaves.
Okay, I got kind of close to the palm tree. So
yeah, it was leaves. What's this?
That's a leaf, I can tell.
Yeah, that's a holly.
Not too bad. Yeah, it's like curved. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
You can vaguely make out what things are. So I'm on the right track.
Yeah, you can.
I'm not quite on your track, but I'm on a track, which is still a track. So
but yeah, it just takes time, really. Like, yeah, just keep doing what you're doing, just practice, and then eventually you'll get to where you want to be. So
that's good advice. I'm gonna try, because I want to be able to create images for my art, because I've been thinking recently I want to make a zine. And I want to have like art in the zine, and obviously I'm not going to be the only contributor to a zine, because then it wouldn't be a zine.
Yeah.
But I want to be able to draw things in there that I feel to go along with my own poetry, because I want to make a poetry book, and I want to do things. I just feel like the hand it doth write words, but it doth not write images. Like, help me write words and images and all of the things. I don't know. One day.
Yeah, you should do it. I want to make a coloring book one day. But, yeah.
You definitely should do that.
Okay, I'll make the coloring book when you make your zine.
Okay, cool. Well, I will hopefully be making the zine very soon.
Oh, God.
So hopefully. I'm going to do call outs for the zines quite soon, because I just want to do it. So
yeah, just do it.
Yeah.
Go and get the zine when it comes out, everyone.
Yay, scat.
You might read it. I might bring you back on to read the zine.
Oh, okay. That's even more motivation for me to actually get it done. I get so many ideas and then I'm like, oh, I should do that. Oh, I should do this. And then like, where are the things?
Yeah, that's like me as well.
Yeah. It's like, what's that? The tumbleweed, and you can hear the wind going, whoo, 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 whoo.
They're prickly, restless, rambling.
Whoo, whoo, whoo. That's where they are.
I haven't heard wind sound like that before, but
it's very different type of wind. It's a sad wind. It's a you should hurry up and do this and actually crack on with these things type of wind.
Oh yeah,
that's why it's all different. So
okay, so how did you actually get into poetry? Like, where did it all start?
I started writing poetry when I was a child. Like as soon as I could write, I was just writing different things. Like I found the other day a book that I wrote in primary school, like through to high school, and it's really cute and it's got like frogs on the front. In fact, it's in this little box next to me. But yeah, and it's got like poems that I was writing when I was like 8, 9, 10. And I just wrote because it was a fun, creative thing to do, but also because I had a lot of just feelings that I didn't know what to do with. And so that's kind of why I started writing, because reading through that book was actually really emotional because I'm like, raw, like you had a lot of feelings and you were like a child. But I guess it's always been my way of understanding the things that I'm experiencing. Because what happens for me when I write is I gain a lot of clarity. Like I take a lot of pauses when I'm writing, and when I'm pausing, I'm feeling and then thinking about what that feeling is and then writing through it. And so, yeah, that's kind of just always been a part of the way that I process information. That's and really still is. So, yeah.
Yeah. I kind of resonated with that a little bit, because in the same way, like I kind of do that. Sometimes I just write to like clear my head and stuff like that, where there's like ideas, or like I usually draw when like I want my head to be clear. So like in the middle of the night, sometimes I'll just draw, and then like when I have an idea in my head, I can't like think straight.
You can't not do it.
Yeah, until it's done. So I just do it all like in one go. So I kind of I understand that.
Yeah, exactly the same.
But when would you say is like, so like, you know, when you're a child, like everyone writes kind of similar poetry, like it's usually a similar rhyme scheme, like I like beans on toast, I eat that the most. Like it's like the first stanza, the second stanza. Like when did that change from that kind of style to like, I'll say more of a spoken word kind of like form? Like it's not really a tight rhyme scheme, it's just more feeling.
I don't know. And honestly, it's a really weird question, because I don't know if it ever has changed per se, because I don't know if I ever did write like that as a kid.
Really?
Like, yeah, like I would, and this is the thing, my memory is so bad and I can actually barely remember my childhood trauma, but like I don't think I ever did really write like that. Like looking at the poems in my little book, in fact it's literally right next to me, so I'm gonna get it out if it's not too noisy, but I don't think I ever did really write like that ever. Okay, so this is the book.
Oh.
It's got a broken key padlock on it, because I probably lost it like I lose everything. Yeah, there's like no rhyme scheme.
Wow, that's amazing, because like I don't know, well, I can't say I don't know anyone, because like I'm sure there's someone out there, but for a child to write like that, that's quite like that's not normal, not in a bad way.
Yeah, like, no, I get what you mean. Like there's not a rhyme scheme, but there are patterns. Like I don't even want to read this because it's embarrassing, but there's like a sentence and it ends with "you can cry," and then the next sentence ends with "so you can," and then the sentence after that ends with "you can cry." So there's like there are patterns, but like it's not necessarily rhyming.
Wow.
Like it's I don't know. I think because I've got like a very scattered brain, I don't necessarily need things to feel like, this, I just noticed I never really felt like I needed things to flow into each other, so to speak, and my writing was kind of like bitty and scattered. But in the last year, 2 years, I've been more inspired by other poets, and like the way that there's like actual like flow, because I feel like what I do quite well is I'm able to express my feelings, but with necessarily like specific rhyming techniques or like use of metaphor and things like that, like actual poetic techniques is something that I've actively tried to like introduce more in my work in the last 2 years. So it's kind of like, I guess, a backwards approach. It was kind of all over the place. And now I'm like, but if I do this, or I feel like I like this more, or when I'm listening to poetry, this is the thing that makes me feel a certain type of way, I can do those things too. And kind of, incorporating it in that way, which has genuinely been an actual conscious decision, because I'm hearing so much beautiful poetry these days. And I'm like, what's that? Okay, that's what a metaphor is, because I've had to like relearn all of the things. Yeah.
So like, so like you mentioned about like people that inspire you. So who would you say inspires you now, like in terms of poetry?
Okay. I went to an event called Poetics Open Mic. Really, really good event. If anyone is ever in London and they want to listen to some poetry, it's a very beautiful event. And I was one of the like guest poets, and another one of the guest poets that night was a gentleman called Simon J. Keenan. And when I tell you that I was captivated, mesmerized, almost in a trance-like state listening to this man's poetry, it was so beautiful, so flowy, so rhythmic, but also so powerful. Because and without trying to sound too judgmental, I think some poets are able to throw in punchlines and rhymes, but like you don't get the feeling. It's just like, cool, you've got a strong delivery and you've thrown in some things that are a little bit entertaining, but like, do you feel it? And what Simon does really well is everything. Basically, like, yeah. So if anyone wants to listen to Simon, you can check out his poetry on SJK_poetry on Instagram. Phenomenal poet, incredibly inspired by Simon. And Lay Speaks. This guy's pen. Oh my God. It's like rap, but not, because it's obviously poetry and spoken word. And his use of metaphor is so powerful. I don't even know. Like, I think you just need to like listen to Lay to even.
Yeah, I like stuff like that. So I'm gonna.
Yeah, like, oh God, Lay is just phenomenal. Just phenomenal. And the way that Lay inspires me is just that his use of imagery. Listening to Lay, I was just like, yeah, like you can have punchlines and stuff and use them in a way that create images, and those images also guide into the feeling that you're creating, and it can all work. And this is what I mean by, like, in the last 2 years, I've become more like aware of how I write and the things I can use. It's not like when I'm writing, I'm like, okay, throw in a punchline. Oh, okay, throw in a metaphor. It's just now that I've become aware of the ways that other people use poetry, I feel into that more. And when I'm writing, because I'm aware of these new things, they kind of just flow through.
Right.
Yeah, but Lay Speaks on Instagram, LEY, just great. And yeah, and Jada, Jada, who goes by 98 Jada on Insta. Oh my God, as in JAYDA. Who? This girl is one of the most phenomenal poets I've ever heard in my life. Like, I feel like I've been really blessed in the last 2 years to just like find some incredible poets from being on the poetry scene more, because I was in Barcelona living there for like 1.5 years and I just wasn't down here. Yeah, and so like the poetry scene, I was kind of going to events before I moved in 2018, but like I'd only been going to poetry events for like a year. And it was only one poetry event that I was going to, Flow Vortex, beautiful event. And I'd only been there like a number of times, so I didn't really get to like come into contact, if you will, with like loads of poets. But in the past 2 years, I've been really, really blessed, like just hearing some incredible talent. And Jada, I wish I had the words even for just how good Jada is, how effective her poetry is, how she, oh man, okay, here's the thing about me, right? I'm a poet, but then when it comes to actually speaking, sometimes I really just don't even have the words because it's just so many confusing feelings. And that's probably why I write poetry, because I just struggle to like speak generally. Right. But Jada, Simon, Lay Speaks, yeah, wow.
Shout out to them. Shout out to Jada, Simon, Lay Speaks.
Wow, yeah, they're just so good. Do yourself a favor, guys, and listen to their stuff.
Yeah, I'll definitely be checking them out. So what would you say is the difference between like performing or like reading a poem and like reading or performing like a monologue?
There really isn't much of a difference, you know, because you need to feel it and you need to make people feel it too. And so in a way you are acting. Because in a monologue, just like with poetry, there are certain lines that are there to make you feel a sense of sadness or help make you feel the happiness that the writer is trying to express. And you need to do that when you're reading a monologue or whether you're reading poetry. So it is just like a form of acting, but you're not consciously acting. You're more just like feeling, because you've written those words and you feel those words, the feeling naturally does just come through. Right. Unless you are a very nervous speaker, then it's just like nerves coming through. But once you push past the nerves and you can feel through the feelings, then other people will feel it too. But yeah, I guess it's just like acting, but without the conscious awareness to be a performer. You're just feeling through. Yeah.
So would you say like acting helps? Like, say if I'm not very confident speaker, but like I write really well, and then let's say I learn how to act, so I can act out my poem rather than trying to read it like as me. It's like if I have like a separate alias, like I'm acting like I'm someone else, like it's not me, even though it's me writing it. Would you say that helps?
Oh, definitely, 100%. Like I said before we started filming, I'm gonna start doing like acting classes because working on my confidence is something that I do want to work on. Right. But I've been performing like properly, other than like one open mic a few years ago, you know, like actually performing and finally getting booked for gigs and stuff in the past like 6 months. And when I first started last year, July, was when I said to myself, I would like to take poetry seriously. And I went to an open mic and I was like, I had to gear myself up even to do the open mic because I was so nervous. And to get from there to where I am now, which is like much more confident, a little bit more comfortable, but still with a lot of work to go. So one of the things that I have done is just imagine myself as the performer I want to be. It sounds really cheesy, but it actually really does help. Like, imagine how you want to perform this poem and then just start embodying that. Standing in front of the mirror with what's called a power pose, but basically like a stance that makes you feel more confident. Notice the way that your body looks. How do you feel when your body is like, if you start your poem and you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're like hunched over, just really deep how you look and how that makes you feel and why, and like how that makes you feel, but how are you feeling in general that's making you stand like that? Because the chances are you're feeling self-critical, you're worried about what other people are going to be thinking about you, and you're not focused on just feeling through your work and being a performer, if your focus is elsewhere and it's not on what you have to do, then you're not going to feel your best or do your best. You just need to kind of like keep that streamlined focus on, okay, now I'm doing a thing here, and the thing is being a performer that I would want to see. What does that look like? How do they move? How do they speak? How do I make this person feel this? And then just keep practicing that in your mirror until you actually feel a bit more comfortable. And it's awkward, but it does help.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of like creatives do that. Like they sort of kind of separate themselves from their art, like, and they create like a persona to go around. Like, especially in music, like people would wear like masks, or they'd use different names that like from their own name. A lot of artists do that. And I feel like it just helps, even though it's you and the art you're making is you, it just helps when it's like you're performing. I don't know how to explain it, but it helps when you create something else that's not you. So it's like you can push all your like I can't explain it.
Well, I know what you mean, because I listened to this podcast called On Purpose by Jay Shetty, and he was talking about that exact thing. And it's about like, how did he describe it? About like superheroes and becoming your own superhero. Because when you like, even when like for there was like this study done where what was it? Like people were asked to do something, but they were asked to do it like a doctor would do it. And the people that weren't asked to do it like a doctor would do it didn't really do it as well. And the people who were asked to do it like how a doctor would do it, they did it really well, because they were like, well, I'm a doctor. I can't let these people suffer. I can't let these people die. And so it's like just saying to yourself, like, no, I am this thing. I have to be this thing because this person wouldn't do that. It's like you're tricking your mind into being another thing and playing a role, because in a way, like, we're all kids. Like, you never stop being a kid. And when a kid is like playing make-believe, they're not playing make-believe. They really are doing the things. Like, they really are whipping up hamburgers with that mud. Like, they're really doing that. They really believe that they are. There isn't like a separation. So you just have to say, no, I am. And so I will do.
Yeah.
And you trick your brain into that, because the brain doesn't know the difference between reality and like what's like false and reality. It really doesn't know the difference. You just have to tell yourself a thing and your brain goes, okay, cool, that's what that is, right?
Yeah, because I realize I do that a lot. Even though I use like my real name for everything, I realized that me in like art mode is a lot more exciting than just like regular me. Like, I would just chill all day, but my art, it like is very like exciting, I guess. I don't like,
it is exciting.
Bigging myself up, but like
okay, like, let me big you up. It's very exciting. I love to look at it. It's so colorful. It's just so fun. It makes you feel things, like sprinkle the pepper, like.
Yeah, but like me in general, I just like, I am a happy person, but I like my favorite colors like gray and blue. Like, I just like chilling. I'm a very chill person, but my art is very like bright and stuff like that. So it's like I'm two different people, but it's they're both me. It's just a different part of me.
It's different parts that you channel.
Yeah.
And then you found a channel to express another part of you, which is beautiful.
Okay. Yeah. So we're gonna get more into like poetry and like the techniques and stuff. So what would you say are some like common techniques that you use, or like that you just naturally come up with when you're writing poetry?
When you say techniques, how do you mean?
So like maybe like pace, or like, do you know when you pause?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tone,
Okay,
stuff like
cool. I actually was writing a poem the other day, and knowing that we were gonna have this chat,
that.
I was like trying to be consciously aware of how I was writing the poem. And I wrote down something, okay, that I read over once I finished a line. Okay, yeah, cool. In fact, should I just read it? All right, cool. So
I thought that was part of the poem. I was like,
no.
Are we getting an exclusive?
Exclusive. No. I could read that for you if you want, but this is just what I wrote. As I was writing it, I noticed that what I do is I read over a line. If I get stuck, I will just read over what I've just written as if I'm like performing the poem, or just even just to feel through it. And then it gives me the opportunity. Okay, let me read it, because you know how I said like words and like thoughts, like it really does help for me to write things down. So I read over once I finish the line, and this helps me to revisit what's there and think about what I feel in relation to what's already there, instead of fidgeting on the last line. And that's kind of like, if the next line hasn't come to me, then I'm not gonna sit there and just be like, oh, okay, so what can come next? What do I write next? I kind of just will read over it and feel it. And then if something else comes to me in relation to the last line, or it makes me think about something new, then the next line that I write is about the new thought that I've had, or how I feel about what I've just read. So in a way that it helps the poem to flow a little bit more, because my thoughts are flowing because it's in relation to what I've just read. And so what I write next is in relation to what I've just read. Either it's directly related, or it's something that I've felt next. And so it kind of takes you on like a journey, if you will. Yeah. And then what else do I do? I did write some other notes, because when I'm writing, I'm not consciously aware of what I'm doing. So I really did try to sit and do homework with myself in order to have anything to say. But
I feel like you use pace quite, what's the word? Intelligently, I think you do.
How do you mean?
So, I think it was your, what was it called? It was like the complicated breakup poem one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like those parts where you slow down, and then those other parts where like you sped up, and I feel like you use pace quite like well in that one. So like you knew when to slow down. Well, obviously it was natural, but like it felt.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's not necessarily like a writing thing. That's more like a post writing thing. So because I read while I'm writing, I get a feel for how I want to read it as I'm writing it. And so there are places that I feel to slow down or speed up, or if I'm saying like the next sentence is words that kind of go together, like the sound is k d k d k or something like that, then I'm like, okay, maybe I'll speed that up because it feels nicer to say like that. But yeah, that's more like a post writing thing, just like feeling through and reading your words. And then where do you feel like you just want to, like, I don't know, it's a lot to do with feeling, and it's really difficult to encompass. So maybe I should sit with that a little bit more and dissect that. But it's a lot to do with, just feeling. But that's a post-op type of situation.
Right.
But yeah. It's so funny because I'm reading these notes that I've wrote, and how many times am I going to say the word feeling? It's in every sentence. Because I truly do believe that poetry is about feeling. It's not about punchlines and like any of that stuff. Those add to the poem. But if you can't make someone feel something, or you're not feeling it while you write it, it really shows. And that for me is the only reason I read or write poetry or listen to it. I'm not really tickled by things that are impressive. Like there are some poets out there that like they've got really good delivery, and like you can tell that there's good punchlines in there, and they're really saying it with so much conviction, but I haven't felt anything, and I actually don't know what you're speaking about. Like you finish the poem and you haven't taken anything from it because it was impressive, but what did you feel? And that that's probably why I've written the word feeling in absolutely every sentence here, but I've written, find what you enjoy in poetry and feel into it, not copying it, which is what I was kind of saying earlier. Like, listen to poetry and find what you actually enjoy listening to, because then you'll find styles that work for you, because there's a million styles of poetry out there, but you're only going to feel a few of them because those are the ones that resonate with you. And if they resonate with you, then that's where your heart is. And if that's where your heart is, then that's where you can write from. So yeah, find what you actually enjoy, feel into it, and then let that feeling come through as you write. You don't even need to be consciously aware of it. Once you feel something, it does just flow through you. And another sentence with just bare words of feeling. Feel into the feeling and not the frills, which is again what I was saying, like, just focus on the feeling that you're trying to convey, even if it sounds like you feel like it sounds like shit, because we are all our own worst critic. Like, just write what you're feeling. You can always go back and revise things, but just write what you're feeling. And think about, sometimes when I'm writing, like, I take pause, not even consciously, but maybe I don't know exactly how to express what I'm thinking. So I'll take pause and just close my eyes and just really try to feel what it is. And sometimes I'll have like an image come to me and I'm like, yeah, that feels like when a wave washes over, like you just feel refreshed. And so my next line might have something to do with that feeling that I'm feeling, that I've connected now to this actual real life thing that helps me to understand what I'm feeling a little bit more and then incorporate that. But it's in like deciphering how you can incorporate an outside thing with how you're feeling and get it to make sense, that really like helps other people to get that too. Because people may not understand exactly what you're going through, but they might understand the feeling of like the tide washing in, you know. And if you can connect those two things, then you've helped to communicate how you feel or express how you feel. Yeah. And another thing that I do, or that I like to do, that I need to be doing more of, that I used to do every single day and I've fallen off track, need to get back on that track, is like just free writing and practicing non-judgment. And I really can't stress this enough, like just writing and saying to yourself, like, I'm not going to take the pen off the page. I'm just going to keep writing. And even if you don't have anything in mind to say, just keep going, because it's good practice in not judging yourself. And you need to, like what we were saying even before we started filming, like create a safe space for yourself. Because if you're writing and you're like, oh, that's crap, like I don't know what to say next, now you're getting yourself into a stressed out state where you're judging yourself, and you can't flow from judgment. It's not going to feel good for you. So why would it feel good to anyone receiving it? It's like, poetry is a gift. Like, be nice to yourself. Give yourself the gift of being gentle with yourself. Sometimes I get stuck and I just write, I don't really know what to say right now. I'm just feeling a little bit blank, but I just keep going. And maybe me writing that helps me to think about something else. And then I start writing about that. But I just try to not stop for however long I've like set my timer for. And that just helps me to stop taking it so seriously, because it's not meant to feel serious or bad. It's meant to feel good and like you're getting something out. And if that's not how it's feeling, like again, like the hippie state of mind, go back to the fundamentals, be fine, like be calm with yourself, get back to a place where you're feeling loving with yourself, and then write from there. Like,
yeah, I feel like a lot of people, they usually they try and compare what they're currently writing or like what they're currently making to the best thing that they've done, and that causes them to like, it's never going to be better than that one if you keep comparing it to that, because in that time you weren't trying to be better, you weren't trying to make something better than your like current work. It just ended up being your best thing. But now you have that in your mind where, okay, this is my best work, let me try and make something better than this, instead of let me just try and make another work and let's see what happens.
No, exactly. And then it goes back to the hippie fundamentals of, again, where if you're feeling that frustration, it means you've complicated it. And then you can look at, what have I complicated it with? Okay, cool. I've complicated it with the aspiration to be better than my former self. Like you just said, like that's a complication. Bring it back to the core. I feel like I want to create, so I'm creating, and then you create from there. My best friend is always joking with me, because every time I write a poem, I'm like, I feel like that, like, is there any more left? Like, whenever I finish a poem, I'm like, can I write anything good again? Like, is this my last good poem? Is this it? And then, like, I'll go on a hiatus with myself, because I don't want to write from a place where I'm not feeling like good. And then I'll just wait until I get back to feeling good, and then I'm like, okay, you can take this softly, and then I write something and it's good, and then my best friend is like, see, you're always like, are you ever gonna write anything good again? It's the end. And then bang, and I'm like, oh, all right. It's just, you know, no one's perfect, and even though I say these things, it's things I need to practice myself. Like, yeah, I should be more gentle with myself more often. My last good thing is not my last ever good thing, it's just the last good thing I did. And just be gentle with myself, and then you can do another good thing because you felt good while doing it.
Exactly. It was interesting when you're talking about feeling, because it kind of reminded me of the last episode. I was speaking to my friend, and we were talking about like what makes good art, what makes bad art, because like there's usually kind of like blurry lines based around that, because art is like a thing where everyone's like, oh, there's no good art, all art is like, art is just art, let art be art. But I said that I think good art makes you feel, like you said, and then I think great art makes you feel the right emotions that the person creating it wants you to feel. So like, and I feel like with poetry, it's just a stronger sense of that in poetry. Like what you said, like let's say you're writing a poem about like sadness, you want people to feel sad when you're like performing it, so maybe you'll speak in a softer voice, or like you'll slow some stuff down,
so they can take it in,
so they can feel that as well. And I feel like you can apply that to all art. I feel like all art should be able to do that, should be able to make people feel, because if you just walk, like say if you're in a gallery, right, you just walk past something, like you don't even give it a second glance, I don't think that's good art, even though it's in a gallery, right? But it's not making you feel anything. Like it's just there, like it's just basically part of the wall. It's not. So
no, for sure.
I definitely like agree with what you said. Like, it's about feeling. If you don't feel, then it's just the drawing.
Right. Like just because something is celebrated doesn't mean it's good.
Right.
People celebrate a lot of dumb shit.
Exactly.
And also people do things because other people do them. Like that's just a scientific fact. Like, have you heard about the study where there were like these lines, and they were asked, I need you to pick out what line is the longest. And there was obviously one line that was like this long, and all of the other ones were like really short or just like whatever. There was one that was obviously very long. And they had like, let's say 10 people. I'm just making up the numbers, but let's say they had 10 people in the study. One of the people was the actual person who was a genuine, what's the word? Like a genuine person taking the study, and everyone else was like fakes. All of the fakes were like, oh, that's the longest line. And it clearly wasn't. But because of the pressure that we have to fit in with people and to be like other people and not be the odd one out, the person who's like the genuine person that's taking the study says, that's the one, because everyone else picked it. Like even when we feel something and we know something, the chances are, you know, societally, because of the need we have to fit in, people are going to go running after it. Why do you think people are wearing weird shit? Because everyone else is wearing it. That they probably would have laughed at 3 years ago.
Exactly.
Or they probably laughed at the guy wearing it 3 years ago who made it the cool thing.
Yeah. just because something looks good doesn't mean it is good. Like, there's a lot of people that look good, but they're like rubbish people. So it applies to everything. Like, it's down to us. Yeah. There's some plants that are beautiful, but they're poisonous. Like, it applies to everything.
I have a line in a poem that just reminded me of. Can I read it?
Yes.
This is my poetry book, by the way.
Ooh.
I love this book. Okay, cool. So this is called Letter to the Girl Outside. And there was just this woman outside, and she was just moving very mad, and she was really pretty, but she was just having this, like, I'm basically ruining the poem, but she was shouting on the phone, swearing at 9 a.m. and she was like saying all of these words, and it wasn't nice. So that's the context of this line. I double take and see that she is a pretty girl spitting out ugly words. I guess that's why they say don't judge a book by its cover. Some of the ugliest shops display the most attractive dress up at their windows, but we all know what a sweatshop is. I think we all know that pretty is a look and beauty is a state of being. And well, if you didn't, then you'd be shocked by playing spot the difference between her appearance and the words that I was hearing.
That what they do in poetry. They click instead of clap.
Click. Yeah. That just reminded me of that. So
that was really, I like the sweatshop line. That was like, not because I like sweatshops. It was just a really good line.
Yes, tell everyone Joshua loves sweatshops. He can't get enough of them. He's on his way to one right after this. So, thank you.
Okay. So
don't cancel Joshua.
In terms of like performing, we kind of spoke about this a bit anyway. So in terms of performing, like maybe when you're practicing or something, what techniques do you use then? Like in terms of like, I guess give like the techniques you use to help you practice, and then the techniques that you use in the actual poem. So like techniques to prepare, and then techniques in the actual performance.
Okay, cool. Well, to prepare, it's just like practicing and looking at yourself, and feeling through the pace and getting someone to listen to it as well, and getting their opinion on like, are you speaking too fast or what have you? Like recording yourself as well, and then listening to it back, and then feeling where you would like it to sound different. And that comes back to like learning your personal style. Like, what do you want to sound like? What do you want people to feel when you speak? And then you can become more focused on that, because I'm still figuring out exactly what my style is. And a huge inspiration of mine stylistically is Simon, SJK_poetry. Stylistically, just breathtaking. That guy. But yeah, feeling through, listening to yourself, and then just figuring out what it is that you want to change with love and compassion for yourself. Don't be like, oh, you sound like a rat, just nah, nah, nah. You know, just be like, oh, okay, I could slow things down here. Like if I slowed it down, then it could be like, just be gentle with yourself. Talk to yourself like how you would speak to someone that you love. Because sometimes we'd be speaking to ourselves just very mad, and you wouldn't talk to your friend like that. So just stop being an asshole to yourself. It's not nice. Yeah. And then when I am actually about to perform, because I really struggle with like my nerves. So what helps me is like focusing on my breath. And when you get this like weird lump feeling in your throat, like breathing past it and like not swallowing it down, because then you like gulp on your words and then your word doesn't come out. Just like breathing past it and like kind of ignoring it and just speaking through it, because it's more of like a psychological thing that's happening to your body than your actual body doing a thing. So I found for myself, if I ignore it and just breathe past it, and take my time, then it helps me. Because performance-wise, I'm not the best performer in the world, and I'm really trying to get a lot better because I do struggle with my nerves. But those are things that have helped me so far. And also just imagining myself giving a really strong performance, and that helps me embody the energy of someone who would give a strong performance. And I feel like in my last 2 performances, I've gotten better at that because I'm really now actively trying to focus on also there is this thing called I can't remember the name of it, but my mentor for a creative development course that I do, shout out Shah, Icy Cow, or Icicle. She's a rapper as well. She taught me this technique to help with anxiety, and basically it's like tapping, and I shit you not, like it actually does help. I was about to do a performance for BLM Fest, and I was really, really, really nervous about it, and she was just like, okay, cool, try this. So basically what you do is you tap just above your belly button, like right here, like this.
Yeah.
And you focus on the tapping, and genuinely it really helps your body to relax because your brain is now focused on the tapping and the sensation that is quite soothing because it's like rhythmic, it's steady, where your heart might not be, your breathing might not be. And so because you're focusing on this rhythmic, steady thing that you're doing, and she was also tapping here for me, your body naturally relaxes a little bit. And then in that space, you can breathe better and then focus on your breathing. And then all over your body just relaxes a lot more. And I was really skeptical of it because I was like, tapping? I'm nervous right now, Shah. Tapping. But just before I was about to go and perform, I was like, thank you so much. Like that. Thank you. It really helped.
That makes a lot of sense though. Because it's like your body's out of rhythm and it's like it's bringing it back into like a rhythm, like with the tapping, like you can focus on something. That makes a lot of sense.
It really helps.
I usually sometimes, well, when I'm by myself, because it's a bit weird if I do it in public, but like I would block my ears. So it's like it's really weird because like even though I'm in silence, it helps me like clear my head. So it's like,
no, it makes sense.
My inner voice, I'm blocking that as well. So like that helps. I don't know if it would help everyone, but that helps me personally. Like when I just like block my ears.
Block your ears. No, that makes perfect sense because I'm just going to get my laptop charger because my laptop likes to die on like 30% and now it's on 30%. But it makes perfect sense because you're focusing on something physical instead of, bear with me, so sorry, you might want to cut that bit out. I'll just restart my, that's all going tits up. Sorry. This work from home life, this wouldn't happen without. No, sorry, let me start my sentence again. That makes perfect sense because your body is like now focusing on a physical thing that you're doing to create the peace and silence that you need. And so your brain, like I said before, your brain really can't tell the difference. It can't distinguish between what's real and what's not real. And so now it has another thing to focus on. And so that's a really good technique, actually.
Thanks. I developed it myself.
Yeah, I love it.
I can't remember why I did it. It just felt natural, like the natural thing to do. I was like, you just do it.
Yeah, no, it's good. It makes perfect sense.
Okay, so the last thing I wanted to ask before we get into the more like example kind of thing. So you mentioned that Shah was a rapper, and that's quite interesting because I think that, would you say rap is a form of poetry?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so like what would you say, like where do they differ and where do they meet? Because obviously rap is performed behind music, but you could perform spoken word behind music, right?
Yeah.
But does that become rap now because it's behind music?
It's such a fine line. It's such a fine line. Like Lay Speaks, who I mentioned earlier, he does poetry, and he's recently started doing like music too. But he's such a poet that the music that he does to me still feels like poetry, but I'm like, this is definitely also rap. And it's like the line is so blurred. Like I really couldn't tell you when it stops and when it starts. All I know is some stuff is definitely rap. And some stuff is definitely just poetry. And some stuff is just very like, are you both? Are you doing both to me? Like it's, I don't know. Like poetry is well, can be rhythmic, it can rhyme, it can have punchlines and metaphors, it can have imagery, but it doesn't need any of that. Whereas I think rap needs or is rap because it has punchlines. Right. But then I don't know, because I don't really know what defines rap. Like what defines rap?
I would agree though. I would say rap has more guidelines. Like it has to go with the music. Like spoken word, you can stop whenever. You could start. You can pause for like 3 minutes if you wanted to. But rap it'll just sound kind of weird. Like you just music for 3 minutes and they'll come back. But yeah, because I feel like there's some artists that you can hear the poetry more. Like what's the name? No Name. And I forgot her name. There's another one I forgot. Who?
Little Sims?
Yes, like Lil Sims. There's another artist called like Chance the Rapper as well.
Oh yeah, I love Chance.
Saba. I love Saba so much. He's coming out with an album tomorrow.
Hey, that's
yeah, so like, but they even had like a poetry background anyway. So like they performed like poetry and then they transitioned into music. So it makes sense that you can hear that more in their music. But then you've got people like Lil Pump. Like, would you say that's a form of poetry still?
No. No. And in fact, I feel on behalf of the whole poetry community disrespected. I'm joking. Nah, like what is the difference though? I wouldn't describe that as, but actually maybe.
I'll just say it's a simple.
Some poetry is silly and some poetry is nonsensical. But the thing is, I like silly music and stuff like that. Like I'll still catch a vibe to it, but I've never seen it as poetry. But do you know what? Who am I to say? maybe it is. It's maybe not my type of poetry, but yeah.
Poetry. It's just let's say it's bad poetry, but it's poetry.
Right. Subjective, but I would agree.
Yeah, because you can't really, because you can't say that rap is poetry and then like cut it off at one part. Like it's either all or nothing. But there is a spectrum. Like
it's definitely it's on the spectrum. It's just for me probably on the lower end of it. Yeah. It might be on the higher end for someone else, but not this spectrum.
Like a child or something. Or
maybe a different audience. Yeah.
Okay. So, I actually wanted us to like make a little poem up. I don't know how we're gonna do it though. I didn't really think this through.
Cool.
Yeah, so I don't know how we're gonna do it, but yeah. Do you have any ideas?
A technique that we do in like workshops is like an observational technique. So you can pick like an item in your room, in your real room or in the fake room that you're in, either or, that you're intrigued by. Cool, a bottle, cool. Should I pick the same thing or?
No, I'll say pick something different because I feel like people compare And obviously you're gonna blow me out of the water, so it's like
I mean, I probably won't. Like, I'm just writing something random. This is the thing, like I really do practice non-judgment when I'm just playing about, because, or just generally, because nothing is meant to be good, you know, just meant to just do it. But I find this way of writing really challenging because I usually write from my feeling, and I find it difficult to just write about anything. So this is challenging for me. But yeah, I've picked this, which is an Itsu pound coin.
I've never seen that before.
They give it out randomly sometimes. It's you get £1 off, valid after 4 p.m. on all Potsu and Boksu. Thank you very much, Itsu. Yeah, isn't it cool?
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so then what you do is you use the object as a form of like inspiration for the writing. So it doesn't necessarily have to make a poem in the first instance, but just start writing about it and how it makes you feel. Like, yeah.
Okay. So, we'll do this. Let's give each other, let's say, 2 minutes.
Okay.
And then.
Or sorry, I'm so indecisive. I'm a Gemini, and I just can never decide on anything. I thought of this prompt this morning. Just really, really randomly. So maybe, and this might make it actually a bit more interactive. For anyone listening, if they wanted to also join in on the prompt.
Yes.
I thought of the line, "Normality soothes your supposed emasculation."
Oh gosh. Normality soothes
your supposed emasculation.
Emasculation?
Emasculation, like, you know, the feeling of being emasculated, like your masculinity is being taken from you. So yeah, I thought of that this morning and I put it in my poetry prompts note in my phone to write about one day. But it looks like today might be that day if you want to write about this prompt.
Yeah, today's the day.
Cool. All right.
Okay. Oh gosh. Okay, I'll set a timer then.
Cool. And like, you can start off with the line or you can just be inspired by the line. There isn't any correct way to use the prompt. It's any way that comes to you to use it. So there are literally no rules. So just do whatever you feel and we'll meet back in 2 minutes, I suppose.
Oh gosh. Okay.
And remember, don't be hard on yourself. Because I can see you overthinking.
I am.
I can see it. And this is why these things are good, because they help us to catch what we do and then be like, okay, bring it back. So you're overthinking, stop that. Just put your pen on the paper and write the first thing that comes to mind and don't judge yourself for it. Just keep writing.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'm starting the time now.
Perfect.
Oh gosh, time's up.
Cool, I'm just gonna finish my line.
Okay. I didn't even read back what I wrote. I just wrote.
Good.
Okay.
It's a short little free write.
Yes.
Cool.
Right. Woo. Okay.
It's not meant to be good. This is the thing, like, poetry is just one of those things that, like, it just comes together. And sometimes the purpose of writing for 2 minutes and doing an exercise like that is just to soothe your natural inkling to judge yourself and hyperreact and be like, shit, what do I do? Sometimes an exercise like that is literally just to get you into the practice of writing calmly and being like, it doesn't matter what I do, I'm just going to do it from this space. So it's not about it looking good or sounding good, because you can revisit stuff. You're just getting thoughts out.
Okay. Do you want to go first, or should I go first?
Yeah, sure. I just wrote nothing becomes normal without a first. Nothing becomes, because I haven't read it back either. Nothing becomes normal without a first with a thirst for authenticity. The slow fall of dominoes after the first fateful, and then I just stopped there.
Oh, that's sounding good though. I like that.
Well, let's go. Yeah, to you.
So I actually put the line in the poem.
Sweet.
Because I thought I was meant to. So I was like,
no, you can do whatever you want. I kind of started doing that, and then my mind was like, oh, I don't know what to go from here. So then I just wrote whatever came to me after that. But that's another thing. If you feel stuck and something else comes to you, just follow whatever comes to you. Basically, just do whatever you feel whenever you feel it, is what poetry is. And yeah.
Okay.
More tips. Go on.
So I wrote, normality soothes your supposed emasculation, but what is a man? Does a man cry? Because if so, lately I've lost my flow. Just me and myself get into war, tar, sticky situations, many complications, many compilations of me failing again and again and again.
Yes! I actually fucking love that. I love that because I felt that. Like, I really genuinely felt that, and I really fuck with that very heavy. You should continue that if you feel to. You made mine look trash.
I tried to connect I tried to connect the idea of water because I couldn't stop thinking about the water bowl in the beginning. So I connected cry, and I tried to connect it with flow, and then I said war, tar. Yeah, and that's it, I guess.
I love that. I really, really love that so much. It was beautiful, genuinely.
Thank you.
We should have me interviewing you as the
poet. See, now I feel good about it because you said it was good. But I know I shouldn't.
I genuinely felt it. It was brilliant.
Thank you.
I didn't feel anything writing mine. I was I was just like, okay, cool. Let me just write and then see what comes. But yeah.
Okay. Well, that's all the questions I have actually.
Sweet. No, thank you so much for having me, Joshua. It's been really good.
Thank you for coming. It was actually very fun. It's very interesting as well because I haven't really looked into the poetry scene like that. But now I feel like I'm going to do that a bit more. And I feel like the techniques you talked about could actually help anyone in the creative scene to even if you're not a poet, still listen to this and apply it. Especially what you said about not comparing yourself and feeling. That was the key word today, feeling.
Yeah, it's always feeling. I am a hippie at heart. It's always like, what do you feel? You're feeling bad? Okay, how do you feel good?
Yeah, so make sure you express your feelings in your whatever creative platform you're working on, whether it's music, poetry, acting, visual art, photography. Just make sure you're expressing that. Don't try and create something for other people to see. Create something for yourself and then put that out. Unless you're doing it for a business or something. That's different. But we're not talking about that right now.
We ain't talking about that right now.
Yeah, that's on the side. But yes, thank you for coming, Reya.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you guys for listening and watching. And yeah, I'll have to bring you back. I said I was going to bring you back when you create the
zine.
Yes, the zine. So
sweet.
Yeah.
Cool. Beautiful. Thank you so much for having me, Joshua. I've genuinely had a really, really fun time. It's been really nice talking to you. And I think I'm gonna go right after this. I'm feeling crazy now. So yeah.
Okay, cool.
Sweet. Well, have a beautiful day.
You too.
You and everyone who's listening.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.